Ruin Eclipse, while following Moon's instructions of staying put, had still taken a closer look at some of the things around the room. There was ventilation, but no clear vents that could make the room connected to any others. From this, he could at least tell that he and Eclipse were not in any room in the Pizzaplex. There seemed to be nothing like an exit anywhere.
Well, this just makes no sense. How could we have gotten here if there's no way in or out?
He kept searching. There had to be something he was missing. Then another thought occurred to him. How was Moon going to find his way there with no signs of an entrance? After some time had passed, Ruin Eclipse was startled by a shrill scraping sound. He looked toward the sound, and he could now see a panel of the floor retracting. Curious, he waited for the awful noise to stop. Then he approached the new hole in the floor. He peered down and could only see darkness. On a whim, he shouted into the hole.
Hello?
His voice reverberated heavily as it passed through the void. Then a response came.
Ruin?
Moon, where are you?
Well, I was in the surveillance room. I found a new set of buttons on the panel. Started pressing some. I think I know whose little secret base you're in.
Ruin Eclipse took pause from all of Moon's grunts.
Are you crawling?
How else would I get through a tunnel?
Finally, Moon became visible from the top of the hole. Ruin Eclipse reached down to help pull Moon up onto the floor. The first thing Moon saw when he looked up and into the room was Eclipse, seemingly frozen in place. He looked on in silence for a moment.
Okay. Yeah, that's horrifying.
He looked back at Ruin Eclipse, pointing toward Eclipse.
Is that how he's been this whole time? Yes, well, not the entire time since I came to.
Moon leaned forward on his toes slightly.
Go on.
The heat returned to Ruin Eclipse's face.
Well, see, I had been in the West Arcade as normal, and I gradually felt myself blacking out. When I returned to myself, I was in this room, on the floor, and I could feel something in my arms. Then, I realized that something was Eclipse. He was sat on the floor with me, pressed up against me. When I looked to see if he was conscious, I saw him just staring out, like he is now.
From Moon's fidgeting, it was clear he recognized the awkwardness of the situation.
Okay. And, well, I told him to get off of me. And he did. Just stood immediately, without a word. And that's how he's been since then.
Huh.
Moon now approached Eclipse.
But then I asked if he could hear me, and he just said yes in a frighteningly more monotone voice than normal. He hasn't said anything else. But, there is one more thing. The thing that I didn't want to explain over the phone.
Ruin Eclipse went up to Eclipse, grabbed Eclipse's hands as he had before, and triggered the same response as before. Moon's eyes widened at the response.
Okay then. That's...
His curiosity got the better of him, and he tested to see if he would get the same result. He did.
Ah!
Moon frantically shook out his hand, as if trying to launch the filth he now felt.
Okay, new rule. No one touches him, ever. Yes, I can certainly agree to that rule. So, do you have any idea what might be wrong with him?
Moon paced in front of Eclipse, seeing no signs of awareness at all.
Well, from the looks of it, someone's gotten themselves a new toy.
He turned back to face Ruin Eclipse, but continued pacing.
You know how you said you hadn't noticed any gaps in your memory recently?
Ruin Eclipse froze. He couldn't recall saying that.
You're not going to like this question, Moon, but, when did I say that exactly?
Moon stopped mid-step. After a second passed of processing what Ruin Eclipse had just said, he pressed his faceplate against his hand.
That wasn't you. Awesome. Cool.
Ruin Eclipse's eyes blinked brighter for a moment.
Wait. Moon, did you speak with that other me?
I thought he was you.
He let out a pained sigh as he lowered his hand.
He was with Eclipse in your karaoke room, and I just thought it was the two of you having a private conversation. That's why I was only a little bit surprised when you came to me worried about him. That was you, right?
Ruin Eclipse nodded.
Yes, that was me. You know, thinking back, I did sort of wonder what you were referring to when you said I had been trying to help him. But wait, why did you bring up that thing before I'd even mentioned any strange discrepancies?
Well, remember what I said about finding some new buttons in the surveillance room? Some of those buttons played some little voice clips. Just some phrases and names that would probably be useful for covering something up. Now take a wild guess whose voice it was.
Oh. So you think he's the reason Eclipse is...
He turned back to where Eclipse was still standing.
Like that?
Well?
Moon now faced Eclipse straight on.
Let's find out. Eclipse, take one step to the left.
Eclipse remained still. Moon turned his head back toward Ruin Eclipse.
Alright, you're up.
Oh,
Ruin Eclipse hadn't expected to have to try giving a command.
Eclipse, take one step to the left, please.
Eclipse instantly reached his left foot out and took a step. His pupils flashed slightly afterward. Moon placed his hands on his hips.
Yep, that's about what I expected.
He turned fully toward Ruin Eclipse.
My guess is there's something in his systems that only responds to your voice, Ruin's voice. I don't know, but it seems like it works with you, too.
Ruin Eclipse looked up at Eclipse. He looked up at his friend. Was he the reason for Eclipse's misery?
Eclipse, tell me who did this to you.
Eclipse replied, his voice lifeless.
You, Ruin.
Ruin Eclipse's motor seemed to halt for a moment. Tears pricked the corners of his widened eyes.
So it's true. He's been here, just around, playing his sick games this whole time.
He took a step back.
This whole time.
He held his gaze on Eclipse, his anguish growing as he realized what had been done. Tears formed and fell rapidly. He bared his teeth in a shrill roar.
This whole time! I thought it was over! I thought he was gone! I thought I couldn't hurt anyone anymore!
Ruin Eclipse lurched forward, lifting his hands to his faceplate to catch his tears as he sobbed.
I'm so sorry!
Moon stayed off to the side, unsure if he should even try to comfort Ruin Eclipse. After a few moments, Moon decided to just keep his tone level.
We can go over everything later. Right now, we need to figure out how to snap Eclipse out of this.
Ruin Eclipse attempted, and gradually succeeded, to choke back his sobs.
You're right. But how do we even begin to figure that out?
Moon pinched the bottom of his faceplate.
Well, he would need to be able to have access to whatever activates...
Moon paused, gesturing toward Eclipse.
that at any given moment. Otherwise, he would have no way of ensuring that he could use this... whatever it is.
He glanced at Ruin Eclipse's left arm and spotted the hatch to the panel.
Open up your panel for me.
Ruin Eclipse, though puzzled and still sniffling, opened the panel on his arm, revealing the buttons. Moon inspected the array of buttons. It had to be one of those buttons.
Question. How much of the process of making this body do you remember?
I made this body?
Okay, so no point asking you about any of these buttons. Great. Guess I'll just have to try them until I find the right one.
So, Moon tried the first button. Nothing seemed to happen. The second button resulted in Ruin Eclipse's hat retracting and being replaced by 3 more rays. The third button had no obvious effect. The fourth button activated a glowing feature, similar to Sun and Moon's. The fifth button seemed to be the one they were looking for. A few seconds after Moon pressed it, Eclipse's pupils dimmed and flickered until they were completely off, and his head dropped. Ruin Eclipse, despite knowing that this was most likely a sign that Eclipse would be back to normal soon, was still worried.
Will he be alright, Moon?
We'll find out soon.